Welcome to the Directors Club podcast, your go-to resource for child care center owners and directors seeking success at their centers. Each week, we dive into the world of child care management, sharing valuable tips, tools, resources, and strategies to help you build enrollment, retain top teachers, and streamline your operations. With a casual and lighthearted approach, we tackle the challenges you face from staffing and enrollment to business skills and time management. Join us as we unlock the secrets to creating a thriving child care center. Let's laugh, learn, and grow together. This is the Directors Club podcast. Hi, everybody. It's Noelle. How are you today? I hope you're doing well. We're into the month and keeping on same topic of employee management. And today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite things, collaboration, and how you can add that to your child care center, because discussing the hard things as a team should just be normal and part of who you are. Today we're going to explore this topic that's so near and dear to my heart, and it's that power of collaboration within your team. And we're going to talk about how fostering a culture of continuous mentorship and open communication can truly transform your center. I'll also share some of my favorite team collaboration exercise that help tackle these difficult topics and really strengthen the bond within your team. Let me start by sharing a time when we were struggling with communication on our team. We were facing a particularly challenging situation with two specific classrooms. And it was an issue of communication between staff members and the parents that was leading to a lot of tension. And what was happening was a parent would say something to a teacher like, oh, today she needs to have 2 bottles and like maybe one's at 11 and one's at 3. And she would tell the opening teacher. And that person wouldn't share anything. She was like, oh yeah, 11 and 3. And then she'd forget. And then we'd give the bottles at different times. And the parents would pick up and be like, how come she didn't get 11 and 3? There were other times when parents would drop off and say, oh, I don't want them to nap anymore. Or I want them to nap only for an hour. Or like whatever how we get those requests, right? And what was happening was wherever that conversation was happening, whether it was opening or closing, it didn't always get communicated in a couple of our classrooms. Most of our classrooms were doing fine, but these two, it was bad. And so what we did was we collaborated together. And it was so clear, delete back to we collaborated together. It was clear that the team was uncomfortable bringing up the topic. And as a result, everyone was blaming the other person. And it literally started to snowball into something it didn't need to be. I tried something different, and I'm going to talk you through exactly what I did and these few steps to help you foster collaboration at your child care center. I knew something had to change. This is what we did. First and foremost, we created a safe space. I made it very clear at the staff meeting that our center was a safe place to talk. And while normally in life, we don't talk about our problems like who we have with each other, right? We just flexible and work forward. But in a child care center, when you need to communicate and it's not happening, that needs to be addressed. And so I encourage my team to share their thoughts, no matter how difficult, without fear of judgment. This involves setting some ground rules for respect and confidentiality during our staff meetings. Also, we made it very clear on how they could solve problems. We gave them things they could say to their co-teacher to talk about these things. We also gave them the chain of command and how to come to a manager and say, I'm really struggling with Noelle. She's not communicating what the parents are telling her in the morning to us. And so you then give them tips, right? And tell them to come talk to me. And then you give them the conversation starters, because sometimes that's all it is, where they just need a little pat on the back and say, you got this, you can do it. All right, the second thing that we did to foster more collaboration at our center to solve problems was introduce regular staff meetings. A team meeting is totally different than a staff meeting. So at the staff meeting, we started holding classroom team meetings dedicated specifically to talk about how things were going. These weren't just about logistics or a to-do list. They were about checking in with one another. What's working well? What's not working well? What are our biggest struggles? And what, from this conversation, what are we going to, for 15 minutes at every staff meeting, everybody knows, everybody go break into your classrooms, and they all go off in their classrooms. Not in the classroom, but we're usually in a meeting space. And everyone goes in a corner of the room or just sits closer together, and they have that conversation. Okay, we're going to go on to the third thing, which is the second thing I do at my staff meetings. I introduce specific exercises designed to encourage these open discussions and to bring our problems forward comfortably, which is, what is your biggest struggle? It's normal at my center for me to stand up and say, I'm really struggling with whatever it is. It can be anything. And typically I will say this. When I talked about creating safe spaces, I also talked about don't call people out. I'm not going to stand up and say my biggest struggle is Noelle, because that's inappropriate, right? We don't want to embarrass people. But my biggest struggle is I'm lacking getting the communication from the parents. What are you guys doing to make sure that when parents are communicating something to you in the morning or in the afternoon, that everyone knows about it? That started the biggest struggle. And so we went around the room and we found out that all our classrooms were successful except these two. But two of the successful classrooms had a communication notebook. I'm like, what the heck is that?
Are you a toddler teacher or center director looking to master those unpredictable moments in the classroom? We've got you covered. Download our free Toddler Toolkit today. This resource is packed with 20 easy-to-use transition ideas, a step-by-step guide for directors to lead staff meetings, and a podcast full of practical strategies for managing behavior and creating a calm, engaging environment. Make every transition smooth and stress-free. Grab your free toolkit now and bring balance back to your toddler classroom. Click the link in the show notes to download.
For 20, probably 17 or 18 years now, we've been using a communication notebook. So every classroom has a communication notebook. And in that notebook is just literally one of those cheap spiral bound single subject notebooks. It has, you write the date. I'm going to write today's date. I'm going to write the parent that talked to me, and I'm going to write the message that they talked. So that way, when I come in at 9 and the person that opened the classroom at 6:30, I can whip open the notebook and look and say, oh, no parent gave advice. Or, oh, this parent said she wants the bottles at 11 and 3 today and not at whatever her other time was. Or, oh, the parent doesn't want the child to sleep more than an hour, or whatever the thing is. That just shows us that you have so many resources inside your childcare center. You don't have to be the one mentoring everybody. And when you introduce what's your biggest struggle at a staff meeting, you're going to find that there's so much information and people see so many different things in all the places that they've worked that it really can make a huge impact. And this exercise helped us to break down barriers and allowed us to address issues before they became truly unmanageable. And one of my favorite stories of collaboration is I have a toddler teacher and a preschool teacher who are both still here with me. They've been here a long time. And so we've been doing this a really long time, this whole process at our staff meetings. And I knew about the toddler teacher was struggling with a child and they would never sit for meals. It was like free roaming. It was like really difficult because we had peanut allergies and nut allergies and all the things. And I was walking, I knew she had the problem because we were all talking about it and giving suggestions. But one day we were walking down the hallway and she says, oh, Miss Noelle, we finally figured out what to do. And I said, oh, what was it? And she said, oh, one of the preschool teachers told me whatever the solution was, and we've tried it and it is sticking. And I just sat there for a moment and I was like so happy. And not just because she found a problem, but because the team was collaborating together. It's okay to have problems because this team is filled with resources. So I want you to really think about implementing biggest struggle inside of your center in your staff meetings because it really is super beneficial. The last step in this whole process, and I just talked about it, was mentorship and peer support. So think about ways like we talked about, I think it was last week on the podcast. I pair up staff members for mentorship and peer support. And so it's really not about creating a formal mentorship relationship, but rather encouraging them to lean on each other for advice and support. So like I just talked about that situation with the toddler teacher and the preschool teacher, but you can also utilize it for something like cleaning checklists. So say the cleaning checklist isn't going well in one of the classrooms. They're just not meeting those expectations. And if you go to last week's episode, that's what I talked about. So if you need to get on to some more detailed information on policy and procedure clarity, but when you think about your cleaning checklist and they're not doing it properly, just find the teacher that does it properly. Who has it where they're getting it done, not stressing the classroom out, and it's getting done consistently and correctly. And take the person that's struggling and meet with them and say, okay, I know that you are struggling with the cleaning and the end of the night and it's very chaotic. Miss Jen in the toddler room, she really has it down pat. And I'm going to put you in there for closing for a few nights during the week and over the next week. And I want you just to get some tips from her and see how it's done and watch the process. There's absolutely nothing wrong with flipping a teacher for a few times, for them to be in a room, to watch how it goes, and to get that peer-to-peer mentorship. That really fosters a sense of camaraderie. You build leaders doing this, and it makes it really easy for people to discuss difficult topics because they know the person is in their corner and it's not a judgment. So, the transformation at your center is nothing short of amazing, right? When we went through this, when we added these things so many years ago. And by creating this culture where everyone feels comfortable speaking up, we saw a noticeable shift in how the team interacted. So that tension that had been building up really goes away. And instead of small issues festering, they're addressed quickly and collaboratively. Favorite word. It's my favorite word. I love when my team collaborates. One of the most rewarding changes was how my team began to handle challenges together. Instead of waiting for me to step in or calling me in the office, they took that ownership of their roles. So this approach not only improved our work environment, but it also enhanced the quality of care of our child care center. And parents begin to notice that positive energy. And it becomes very clear that our staff was more united and focused. And this shift didn't just benefit the teachers. It created a ripple effect that improved the entire center operations and our reputation. And ladies, gave me back more time. Who doesn't want that as a child care center director? Here's what I want you to think about. How open is your team when it comes to discussing the hard things? Are you creating opportunities for collaboration? Or are there areas where communication could be improved? Take some time to reflect on your current practices and consider how you can foster a more collaborative environment at your child care center. If you're looking for more ideas or need support, we'd love you to join us in the Directors Club. We talk a few times on Zoom, brainstorming everything we're working on, and you'll have access to all the done-for-you tools and resources that are ready to implement right now. So let's work together to build a stronger, more collaborative team together. And if you join the Directors Club, inside there is the ultimate staff meeting, which you can put this whole entire thing into action, plus professional development. So I think you'd like that. So again, thanks for listening, and I want to hear from you. Write us back, DM us, and let us know the positive changes collaboration has brought to your child care center. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Bye, everybody.